the skills that are involved in wealth creation, for example, an entrepreneur building a business, are fundamentally different skills from those needed to preserve wealth.
I'm Dan Richards, regular columnist in the Globe and Mail Report on Business. I'm talking today with Al MacDonald with the Ottawa office of Richardson GMP. Al, we're going to talk briefly today about the clients you serve and how you serve them. First, some quick background on you and your time in the business.
Sure. I've been in the business for 25 years. 15 of those years have been as an investment advisor. Before that, I was with Royal Trust. I hold a Chartered Financial Analyst designation, which takes 3 years to get. It's about 3,000 hours of study, and the three exams are considered the most rigorous and difficult in our industry.
So let's shift gears and let's talk a little bit about what your business looks like. First of all, a profile of your business and the kind of clients you serve.
Well, I manage about $100 million in assets for 85 families. Our clients are typically entrepreneurs or executives that have created wealth in their professional lives or in their businesses, and they need help going from being wealth creators to wealth preservers.
So when you say people need help transitioning from creating wealth to preserving wealth, tell me more about that.
Well, the skills that are involved in wealth creation, for example, an entrepreneur building a business, are fundamentally different skills from those needed to preserve wealth. So you can have a wealth creator, like an entrepreneur, take risks, create a great business, sell that business, come into a lot of money, and at that point they need to shift gears from being the wealth creator to preserving that wealth that they've created.
And when you begin working with a successful entrepreneur, corporate executive, what typically is the first thing that you do when you begin working together?
Well, we have an in-depth discovery interview that we do. And out of that discovery interview, we come to understand what the client's objectives are, what their goals are, what they'd like to do for their family, their community, what legacies they'd like to leave behind. And we put those things into a lifetime spreadsheet. So we take those goals and we project them out through the rest of the client's life. And this gives us a snapshot of how realistic is it what they want to achieve. So in many cases, there's different moving parts to this. You'll have a business perhaps that's been sold, but maybe they're starting another business. Maybe there's an inheritance expected into the future. All these different things, and these different variables can all be quantified and put into one place so they can get a good view of what the future is likely going to look like.
We talked about the lifetime spreadsheet as an example of a tool that you use. Could you give me an example of another planning tool that you use in your business?
Well, one of the discussions we'll enter into is the now, later, and never money discussions. So if you have someone with significant wealth, the now money would be things they want to do immediately. Buy a house, buy a vacation property, perhaps send their kids to school in the following few years. The later money is typically the capital they'll need to sustain their retirement income over their lifetime. And if they are fortunate enough to be wealthy enough, they may have never money. And never money is money that they don't plan to spend in their lifetime and is likely going to be left as a legacy to the community or to their children.
And are there any particular things you do around that never money?
Well, once we've identified never money and we're all in agreement that this is likely not to be spent, we'll look to how can we optimize the estate outcomes that the clients are looking for. An example might be someone who's accumulated a significant amount of money in a holding company. And that holding company money is going to be taxed when it comes out of the holding company. Unless the holding company buys an insurance policy on the client's life, and when the client passes away, the wealth from that holding company can be passed tax-free on to the next generation or to the legacy that they want to leave behind.
Al, if I'm a client who works with you, let's suppose I have $1 million, how often can I expect to hear from you and your team?
Well, pretty much as often as you want. Normally what we would do is we would schedule a review session. We'd let you know a year in advance what that's going to look like. We'll suggest quarterly reviews to start. Usually people pare it back to semi-annual reviews once they become comfortable with our process. And of course, regular email and phone contact.
We talked about the fact that you're a CFA, got a lot of expertise around money management issues. Could you talk about your approach to investments and helping clients manage their money?
When we look at taking a client portfolio and investing it, while security selection is extremely important, a lot of people think the critical issues are the selection and timing of investments. But in fact, it's people's behavior while they hold those investments that determine their success or failure. If you're jumping in and out of the markets, for example, in response to current events, the chances is that you're going to compromise your portfolio over the long term. So we focus on building a coaching relationship with our clients. So we buy investments, reliable investments, that we know will get them to their objectives over time, and then we focus on keeping them in those investments long enough that they can be successful.
And what kind of response did you get from clients in the global downturn that we saw in 2008 and 2009?
Well, it was a time of very high anxiety for advisors as well. So we all had that fear response, especially when we saw our portfolios going down. And that fear response is normal, and what you're looking to do as a coach is to say it's completely normal to have a fear response. It's just not a good idea to act on it. So we're trying to create some distance between that fear and what their actual actions are in the portfolio. And of course, the people who didn't act on those fear responses have fully recovered.
Al, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.